Hey everyone, thanks for joining us today. My name is Dave Yosta. I'm the president of the Managed Service Providers Association of America. Today we are joined by Mike Anderson from EasyDmarc. Mike, thanks for joining us.
Hey Dave, thanks for having me. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem. Well, I don't know where you are in the world, but I'm on vacation, so I'm very relaxed today and very informal. So please excuse that. But you're joining us from EasyDmarc. We've spoken a couple of times. I know about EasyDmarc. My tech company actually uses you. But for the folks who don't know about EasyDmarc, tell us a bit about what it is and introduce yourself.
Yeah, thanks. So Mike Anderson, director of global channels for EasyDmarc. I've been here about 19 months, grown the channel significantly. And so EasyDmarc is a DMARC analytics platform that service providers and IT operators can use to analyze their customers' domain environments as it relates to DMARC compliance. And with DMARC compliance going from optional to mandatory, they must get all their clients compliant, easy for me to say, but using our platform is a real key to doing that.
So what does that mean in a simplified version of language? Because you'll have people saying, what did he just say?
Yeah, so it can be a little bit overwhelming. There's a lot of acronyms and buzzwords aligned to it, but really any sending domain from a customer's site, from a customer's domains, any email sending must now be what they call DMARC compliant or aligned. So there's a couple of protocols, SPF and DKIM, those have to be aligned. And then you have to set a policy. If they're not aligned, what does it do? And so that can be very tedious to kind of do some analysis, because when you're getting reporting, it typically comes over in XML format. And if anybody's ever looked at an XML report, unless you're Neo from the Matrix and you can turn code into a picture like he did in that first movie, those reports are really unhelpful. They're just not, you have to take them and put them in a translator and then mount and do all this magic. Well, we simplify that entire process and just allow that code to come into our platform. We amalgamate it and turn it into a complete picture that the MSP or the IT operator can use to get a complete story on what the landscape is for their customers sending domains and all of their email sending sources, if they're properly aligned to be sending outgoing email. The problem is, if they're not aligned correctly, the email sending providers tend to punish or diminish the deliverability rates for the sender. And so that can be a big problem when you're talking about general communication, trying to come across. Email marketing, that's being destroyed now without DMARC alignment and compliance. And then most importantly, invoicing. If these small businesses don't get paid on time, it can really cripple them. And so invoicing has been affected also. And so we really make, with our platform and our program, we give the IT operator ability to see all of this in one place, not only see it all, but then have the ability to fix it, most importantly.
So you mentioned a few things there that I'm definitely going to come back to. And the reason why is because I do use the program in my tech company. So I understand everything you're saying, and I see the alignment that I'm using. But one of the questions I did want to ask you is, you say they. Who is they? Who is the end user of this product?
Yeah, so the end user of this product, the end beneficiary is going to be, an MSP's customer base, whether it's an accounting firm, mom and pops. 99% of business in America, the revenue is coming from small business in America. Just read a statistically recently from Deloitte, so saying, 99% of all businesses, are going to need this in some form or fashion to get their email communication across. But this allows, the end user, the domains of the end customer, to then be able to be serviced from the service provider MSP, because the mom and pops, hardware store or clothing store. They're not going to know how to align all this stuff. It's a technical, standard technical jargon that the average business owner doesn't understand and doesn't really want to understand. They just want to know that you've got their best interest from a technical perspective in line, and you've got their email flowing. And so what happens is the email sending providers like a Google, Microsoft, Yahoo, AOL, some of these others, they've put these standards in place, right? And they were put in place a dozen years ago to prevent spoofing, right? So if your protocols didn't match, what do? Nothing. That's a bad idea. We quarantine it. That's a better idea, but the email still lands in quarantine, or we reject that email outright. That's the best idea. That gives the highest level of security and deliverability from an end user standpoint. So all this stuff's been around, but it's been optional. And so what happened is all the service providers banded together and they said, we are going to make this protocol no longer optional. We're going to make it mandatory, right? And so what happens is, without your protocols being aligned and being off, the email sending providers see that email coming across and they go, this is not up to standard. We're going to classify this as potential harmful or spam, or we are going to reject it outright on our network. And so without the end user knowing that their emails are now being categorized like that, and it's really damaging their ability to communicate.
Yeah. And obviously, at the end of the day, for the MSP that starts using this platform, there's a revenue stream in that for them, correct?
Yeah. So DMARC as a service is a new category. It just is, and it's good news for everybody listening in on this or watching this podcast. With DMARC compliance going from optional to mandatory, their customers have no option, right? They're going to have to pay somebody to fix this problem. So your listeners and viewers as MSP operators, right? They need to get in front of these conversations and say, hey, this is something that is no longer viable without being compliant. Your email can really take some damage. We've got to get this fixed. And so turning that into a monetization strategy is really part of the equation, just like it is with endpoint protection, firewall, or AV, right? This is a new security category. It must be adhered to. And so, monetization is definitely the way to move forward with it.
Let's come back to what I mentioned earlier on, because, I've seen a lot of what's going on right now. So like I said, when I say we, I'm talking about me and my company, we use EasyDmarc. And yes, I understand everything you're saying. A lot of companies don't. A lot of companies just don't even know. It's not not doing it intentionally. They just don't know they had to do it. But what we have noticed is now we're seeing a lot of companies complaining because their emails are now ending up in spam folders, which is exactly what you're talking about, right? So instead of a business owner now going through and filtering their inbox, now business owners are in a position where they're now filtering their inbox and their spam box. So now it's putting extra time, extra effort on all these business owners to look in two completely separate locations to determine what is valid and what isn't valid.
Yeah.
What is the response to something like that?
Yeah. And so, we all know how this goes. The end user, the business owner, wonders what's going on with their email, why incoming emails landing in spam when it's a valid email. Is because some of these protocols from the sending source are not being adhered to. And so the sending providers, remember, they're in control, right? We just use their networks, but they ultimately decide what these algorithms are and how these things are placed into the spam boxes and or into the inbox, right? The inbox is the holy grail of where we want our communication to land. It gives us the greater ability to communicate and get our messaging across, right? But since we're not in control of these, the end users or even the IT operators, right, we're at the mercy of the Googles, the Microsofts, and so forth to determine what this algorithm is to be able to land into that inbox. But the fundamental thing they've said is it all starts with DMARC. Without your alignment, without your protocol, without your protection layer, of a DMARC policy, you don't even get off first base, right? So
okay, but let me throw this back at you then. So I understand it starts at DMARC. I get that part. Yeah. But hypothetically saying I'm a business owner who doesn't understand what you're talking about. Mm-hmm. what can I do as a business owner who is not technical do to eliminate this?
Yeah. So first thing, and this is all based on you're sending email. This is about getting your message across, right? What happens, with the message coming in, DMARC has no control over that. So this is about you as a business owner getting your message broadcast out in the correct manner. So this is about you controlling as a business owner what you can control, and that's getting your message from your source all the way through to the inbox. And you must adhere to these protocols to get that. This is all about getting your message landing in the right place in the inbox.
So let me change that question a little bit here. So let's say I'm the receiver and I'm getting all this email. I'm tired of now having to go and check my spam folder, because honestly, I really am.
Yeah.
Okay. What can I do as an end user to eliminate having to now check my spam folder on top of it? And it's just a rhetorical question. I know what to do, but I want to hear what you have to do.
Yeah, no, I mean, if I'm an end user and I'm getting all these valid messages in my inbox, I can classify them as not spam. But at the end of the day, it's the sender's responsibility to make sure they have all those protocols met, so their email doesn't end up in your spam box. You got very little control over that, because I only control what's coming into my network and what I'm sending from my network. I don't control what the sender's protocols are, and so it's a very unfortunate side effect that people are having to scramble on both ends, right? This is most importantly, you as a business owner want to get your message heard and get your message put in the right box, right, or delivered, not to the spam or being rejected outright. That's first and foremost with DMARC. Incoming email, being classified as spam, that's something that's out of our control. The email service providers, determine all of that. But again, as you as a business owner, it all starts with you having all of your protocols aligned first.
So you say it's out of your control, and I understand as the receiver, a large part of it is out of your control, right? And I'm going to ask you a very blunt question here is, we have a lot of MSPs, part of the association, that have fallen into this. So is it really out of our control to actually educate them and say, this is what you need to do? And how do we do it?
Very, very good point. So education is the key to protect your customers for all of their outbound sending messages, right? Because what the result—
And themselves, right?
And themselves, right? And so for their own domains and email messages to get out, right? So that your message is being heard, your customers' messages are being heard, you must have these protocols in place so that it gives you the best chance when it traverses to another network, AOL or Yahoo or Google says, okay, everything's in place. This doesn't look like a threat. I will send it through to the inbox. But without having your protocols in place, you're at risk to being diminished, your sender scores being diminished, going into that spam box, or even outright rejection of the email even getting through.
So let me ask you another interesting question here, and I'm going to be very, very direct with you.
Sure, no worries.
What do you say to an MSP or even an endpoint user or an end company or a small business owner, whoever it is, who says, I am not going to do that? I am not going to put these things in place. What would you say to them?
I'd say, travel at your own risk, right? Buyer beware, right? And you can relate this to any type of, anecdote scenario you want. Remember, 25 years ago, we used to be able to sail through airports, right? Walk right through. Then something happened and it precipitated a change in security scanning, right? Same thing here, right? The email service providers have had enough. They've changed the protocols. They've gone from optional to mandatory. So if you want your communications long lasting over the long term to continue to be delivered in a very efficient manner, these are the standards. There's no arguing. There's no, I can discuss it. It's up to me. It's not up to you, right? Just like, going through an airport is not up to you, right? You have to get to the standards. And so, it's going to come down Murphy's Law, the worst time, your biggest contract, your biggest email campaign, invoicing when you're your budgeting is tight, is going to be rejected. You're going to get no paid or slow paid, and it's going to cripple your business at the worst time. I've already heard these stories dozens and dozens and dozens of times of the worst possible case scenario. When they needed email to go through, it went to spam or it got rejected. It got slow paid, no paid, and it crippled their business. So if you want to take that chance as a small business owner, be my guest. We're moving on, and the market has progressed. These are the standards. The market has moved forward. You got to get caught up, and we've all seen it in today's volatile times. There's all kinds of new things and regulations coming at us all the time. So this is nothing new. It's just something that the business owner must do.
Yeah, and the last 3 months, I've seen it as well. I've seen a lot of companies reach out to me and saying, "What is going on? Please help." And even some of my clients that are well educated in monitoring spoofing emails and phishing scams, when we run cross references on some of these companies, they are horrendous at their settings. And I keep telling them. And I even got out of my way and say to these companies, "Hey, you got problems with the emails, fix it, otherwise we're going to block you." And for whatever reason, they don't want to do it. I mean, you can't stop at that. You just keep on moving forward, like you said, right?
I tell all my providers, if your customer balks, they're going to pay you now or they're going to pay you later, but they're going to pay you or somebody either way. Eventually, something's going to hit them. Their email communications are going to be disjointed and diminished. Their invoicing that's the key. I've heard that dozens of times. A small dentist office sent out 20 invoices. Half of them were rejected. They couldn't figure out what's going on when they didn't have all these invoices getting paid. They looked into it and what's this DMARC stuff?
That's a new foreign language, right?
The service provider fixed it and all the problems went away. So, this is just common sense stuff. And, everybody's used to being hit with regulations and new rules all the time, wherever you're at. It's always something. This issue, that issue. There's new regulations. Wash your hands, wear a mask, whatever. There's always something new coming down the road in the name of safety and security. And this is just one of the things that the controllers of the email systems have put in place. It was optional for a dozen years. Everybody had a chance to comply over, the past dozen years, and very few people did. And if you think about it, only about 3% of the sending domains worldwide are covered by DMARC. So your listeners, if they're IT operators or service providers, the market is literally untapped, when you do the math on how much business is still out there to go get.
Oh, I agree with you. I see it all the time. Mike, I'm going to stop you there. We actually run a few minutes over time. So before we do close here, very, very quickly, any closing comments to anyone watching now or in the future?
Hey, reach out to us, EasyDmarc.com. You can start a free trial or, sign up for a demo. We'll show you how easy it is. EasyDmarc, we make it easy.
There we go. And someone who uses your platform, I can actually absolutely vouch for that. It is really easy and it's really useful. That I've actually detected a lot myself. Mike, thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much for your insight. It's always a pleasure speaking to you, and I wish you all the best.
Yeah, thanks, Dave. Enjoy your vacation.
Awesome. You have a fantastic day, Mike. Bye.
Thank you.